everyone, this is Kristen with Codex and another Codex review. And since it's the beginning of spooky season, we're starting one off with a bang. And of course, this was recommended to me by my friend Don. So shout out to you, Don. Thank you for the recommendation. Let's see what he recommended. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the graphic novel, Did You Hear What Eddie Gein Done? This was written by Harold Schechter and Eric Powell, illustrated by Eric Powell, designed by Phil Balsman, and edited by Tracy Marsh. And I actually have it right here. I know, physical copy, not just from my apps. So let's go ahead and talk about this graphic novel. If you are a true crime aficionado, this is already going to be one for you. This goes through the whole entire conception of Ed Gein. If you don't know who Ed Gein is, he is a prolific serial killer. If you're more of a horror movie person, me, and you know Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or you know Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. Those are characters that are actually based off of Ed Gein, along with a bunch of other characters, but those are going to probably be the two most well known. Now, this is a long book, but a quick read. And I want to point out something about the illustrations in this graphic novel because it is a very meticulous choice. All the illustrations in the graphic novel are in black and white, very illustrated, and they are beautiful, little bit gory. So if you can't handle some gore, probably not the one for you. But if you can handle gore, this is going to be one for you. I love this stylistic choice. This is probably the biggest pro of this book right off the bat. This stylistic choice kind of takes you back in time. Time to a world of like black and white TVs, takes you to the past, makes you think of the past. It also downplays the gore of the situation. A lot of times, horror comic books, horror graphic novels will make everything a little bit splashy and bright and really grotesque and just right in your face. This doesn't. These illustrations are meant to put you back in the time period of when Ed Gein was doing his killing and how the world was existing back then. It is designed to put you right there in the story without saying, hey, look at all the gore that he did. Look at all the killing that he did. That's not the focus. The focus here is on the world at large. Let me explain that a little bit more. The book itself opens up not with a whole entire like birth of Ed Gein and all of this. It actually opens up with an interview with Alfred Hitchcock about the movie Psycho. So for those that don't know, the movie Psycho was one of those kind of thriller type horror movies. It was the very first horror movie and movie in general to have a toilet in there. And of course, there's that infamous shower scene with the blood going down the drain. When that movie came out, a lot of people were asking Alfred Hitchcock, do you think that given how this movie ends, given who Norman Bates is, that people might go out and do these types of things? Psycho kind of paints him as a little bit of a good boy until, you know, you get through the whole entire story. No spoilers for Psycho. If you haven't watched Psycho, go do it, please. But Alfred Hitchcock kind of had this idea in his interview that it's not that I'm making killers. It's not that I'm creating horror or showing a story that should never be shown. I'm showing a different portion of life. So I love the fact that this opens up with an Alfred Hitchcock interview because it puts you right back into that time period and what was going on in the world in 1960. It also goes ahead and reminds you that we're not talking ancient history here. That sometimes happens when we watch a lot of true crime things or read up on serial killers that are long since dead. It feels like ancient history. It feels like, man, decades, centuries, millennia ago. That's when Ed Gein was there. That's when Dahmer was there. All of that stuff, which isn't true. Ed Gein died in 1984, the year I was born. This isn't even a lifetime ago. It's still current events. So I really like that they go ahead and put you in there. Now, They do go through the whole entire history of Ed Gein, including his relationships with his mother, relationships with victims, if you can call them that, and just relationships with the outside world. But the one thing this book does do is brings you right back to the present day of that era, I should say, into that day and age. And make sure that you know other things were happening too. Hey, we had, nuclear war scares. We had these ads for these kitchen gadgets. We had these TV shows. And it also shows you how people reacted to what Eddie Gein had done. There are photos showing families praying to God to kill Ed Gein, and people having not riots but protests and things of that nature. It does get a little graphic when if you know, when you see what he has done to his victims. It gets a little graphic with his relationship with his mother. To quote Psycho, a boy's best friend is his mother. But it still keeps the story going. You can read it at a fast pace. It doesn't lose you. The illustrations keep you coming back, and the way that they go ahead and make this information seem like brand new. I don't care how much you've read on Ed Gein. This makes you feel like you're reading all about him for the very first time. So, that being said, let's talk about what I'm going to give my score here. One thing I do want to point out is if you are a fan of true crime, learning about serial killers, if you like the graphic novel, My Friend Dahmer, then this one is absolutely going to be for you. My friend Don was right. If you are a true crime aficionado, you need to read this. You need to go and read it now. It is very, very good. And it was actually kind of the perfect start to my spooky season. So for now, this is actually going to be my very first 10 out of 10. Yes, I said that. I don't normally do that. I save 10 out of 10 for things that blow me away. I didn't even give my favorite comic book character, Big B Wolf, a 10 out of 10. But I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. The way that it's written, the way that it's styled, and the way that it's created was very deliberate. And I appreciate that. Some people tried to hide what the world was like during the times these serial killers were existing and doing their rampages, so to speak. This one doesn't. It reminds you that there was a world going on in there and that world is not necessarily old. It's still here. And, well, it's not always the prettiest place. So that's what I have. My very first 10 out of 10. If you have not read it, please go read it. Go read it. It's very worth it. Excuse my voice there. Woo! Go read it. It's very, very worth it. And it's really good to add to the spooky season. So, that being said, in case you forgot, I am Kristen with Codex. This has been a Codex review, and I hope to see you in the next issue.